how it goes, and this is how it's taught to students across America and even across the world. You should let the market go, despite it looks bad, because think of the profits being made by this company when it can charge $4,500 for this thing it used to charge $690 for. That's going to make capitalists around the world and investors drool at the profits they can, and that's going to lead them to set up a lab to come up with another drug that could compete. So you see, it isn't all bad because it's going to stimulate, it creates an incentive for other people to come in and make medicines too. That's what we were taught. I remember a young woman in class raising her hand and saying, okay, I get it. If it's scarce and it drives the price up because it's scarce, that will make people invest. But you know, if it's scarce, what do we need a market for? We know there are people dying and the thing is scarce. So a human being who isn't demented will come up with a brilliant idea. Make more of it. Pay somebody to go and invent some more of it. What? We don't need to tell us that a market is this backhanded way of getting something done that a moron could figure out without a market, suggests that the market is looking desperately for a rationale for itself, but we don't need it. And when you think of what could happen, a little more economics. Kaleo Company isn't stupid. No capitalists are that stupid. What do they do when they have a deal like this is they get what's called patent protection. They file a document in an office in Washington, an obscure document that doesn't let anybody reproduce this for 17 years. That's what a patent is good for, basically. 17 years, nobody can produce this unless they give them the permission, which they don't have to do and which they won't. Because, of course, if they gave other people the permission, then they couldn't charge $4,500 because everybody would do it. So it turns out that the market protects itself. That is, it protects the winners. And a patent is a way of doing that. Well, how do you defend a patent? Here we go. You're going to learn economics. See, a patent is great because an inventor is excited to invent something because he or she will get a patent and then they can rip everybody off with it. And if they couldn't get a patent, they couldn't rip us off and they wouldn't bother inventing anything. This is a notion of a human being as a pig, as a person not motivated by anything other than how much can I get, no matter what expense of the population. If I can make a fortune off people overdosing on drugs, let's go for it. You know, ask yourself, are all the good things you ever did in life things you did because it made you a buck? Or were there maybe some other motivations that played some role? I don't know, things your mother told you, or things you got from your friends, or if you're religious, that come from your ethical upbringings. Come on. What kind of an insult of the human race is it to imagine that the only way we can organize invention of new goods is to do it by giving people the way and the incentive to rip their fellow citizens off indefinitely for 17 years? Companies have everywhere erected what we call in economics barriers to entry. It's what it's called in the textbook. A barrier to entry is erected by a company that has something whose supply it can control, driving up its price, but doesn't want to let other people enter, other producers enter, so then there's too much of it. The supply isn't reduced. What are barriers to entry? Well, the most important one, you've all heard of it, although you may not have thought of it this way. It's called advertising. Here's how it works. You make a dark-colored drink. You take water and you make it a dark color, you put some sugar into it. Any half-wit can do that and do it just as well as you can. But what the half-wit cannot do is cover every billboard in America with smiling people at the beach enjoying Pepsi. So anybody else who can make dark water with sugar has a problem. They can't sell it because theirs is called Nepsi. And nobody wants Nepsi. People would want Nepsi if only they could get $20 billion to make sure we always see Nepsi everywhere we turn, in which case Nepsi, Pepsi, we'd probably forget the difference. What's a barrier to entry is the spending on advertising. If any of you have wondered, these ads, I mean, they don't, who in their right mind would go buy something because this stupid ad? You're not getting it. It's not about getting you to buy it. It's getting you to be uncomfortable about buying anything that you don't see often. It's not that you're persuaded. It becomes part of the scenery. It's part of what's familiar to you. It's part of what you know. And that blocks the others. Capitalism is full of that. That's why capitalism has developed the advertising industry, which no economic system ever invented before. And that's not because they're stupid, but because they didn't work this way. But that's not your conventional economics. I figured that one out myself. Okay.